Greetings and welcome to Converging Streams, Interfaith Fellowship in Our Modern World. Our program is a production of the Muncie Interfaith Fellowship and the Unitarian Universalist Church of Muncie. This week's lesson is entitled Religious Traditions in the Congo. Please welcome Reverend George Wolfe and Dr. Yeno Matuka.
Hello, and welcome to Converging Streams. Today it's a pleasure to have with us Dr. Yeno Matuka. Dr. Matuka teaches at Ball State University in the Department of English. But Dr. Matuka grew up in the Congo in Africa, and he's going to speak to us today about his experience with indigenous religious traditions in Africa and how it connected with his exposure to Christianity in that country. Dr. Matuka, welcome to Converging Streams.
Thank you very much.
Perhaps you could tell us a little bit about your childhood and the village you grew up in and so forth, and how religion was presented to you in that period of your life.
I actually was born in a village called Mboto in the western Congo, former Zaire. It used to be Congo a long time ago, went back to Zaire and Congo. Now, I was probably 4 years old when I left Mboto because my father died. But there was a church in my village, a Baptist Missionary Society church, BMS. And my father and my mother were married in that church. And therefore I knew about the church as early as 4 years old. There was a big bell on top of that church, meaning a tower. And from that time on, I knew what the church was, so to speak. Moving to my second village called Kitamisa, we used to go back to Mboto with my mother to church. And so from that time on, I started going to a Protestant school. As you can see, the reading of the Bible and memorizing some Bible verses. It started very early in my life.
So you were basically raised in the Christian tradition.
I would say so, although I shifted from the Protestant to the Catholic by the time I was 9 years old, going to my third village, which is called Luzizila, probably 50 miles away from where I grew up, or, from 0 to 4 and 4 to 9. And there we started the other kind of teaching, which is called the catechism, from the second grade all the way to high school. I was with the Catholic Church.
Now, can you tell us how the more indigenous African traditions factored into your life?
Well,
for example, I understand that in African religious traditions, respect and honoring one's ancestors are important.
Yes.
Could you perhaps elaborate a little bit on that?
The ancestors are honored indeed. I wouldn't say we worship them, but we do honor them because in terms of hierarchy between the spirit and the living, the ancestors are, in a way, closer to God. We have a term for God, which is Nzambi or Nzambiampungu. And Pungu also stands for power. It could be the positive kind of power, which is godly, or the negative one, which is, I guess, evil, destructive. But we combine the two for God, meaning He is the Almighty. When someone dies, of course, the place becomes sacred. There's actually a word for that burial ground. It is called Makulu in Kikongo. And so when you die, that's where you go. And that place becomes it's like a holy place. And when you're passing there, should you be wearing a hat, you have to take it off.
I see.
You have to pay respect.
So this is the place where the person is buried.
Right. Mm-hmm. It's a collective burial place. But I remember when I was 4 years old, my father died, and we would pass there. I would stop, but without meaning much. My mother was quite worried because she thought there was some kind of power in me. I was invoking my father there. But anyway, we do have that connection between the living and the dead, and the oldest person in the clan would be the one who can actually go and talk to the spirits, the spirit of the ancestors. Should we have a big story to sort out, let's say a problem like reconciliation issue, people quarreled over a piece of land, then you would go and put wine, on the grave, and talk to the dead. I remember a time when my uncle wanted me to go with him at midnight because the next day we were going to sort out this big problem we had on a piece of land. We were quarreling with the neighbors.
I see. I see. Now, is there something about if somehow you offend the ancestors that it somehow affects your success?
The way you can offend the ancestors is, of course, to talk evil of them, bad things about them. Of course, that can cause bad luck to you, indeed. And so, in general, we don't talk about the dead, except in a positive sense.
And did you go out and hunt and so forth, or involved in that aspect? And how did that play into success in
the system of beliefs?
System of beliefs, right? Mm-hmm.
If you, let's say that if you kill an animal, you're supposed to give the heart to your paternal side. And if you didn't do that, you're going to feel guilty. That guilt can quickly bring bad luck to you.
So that is a gift you're supposed to give as a...
Right. You have to give the most important part of the human body, which is the heart, the chest, including the heart in it. But some people have become a little greedy, ignoring those traditional values, and they would not pay that respect to their paternal clan. And what would happen then is that the next time they go hunting, the animal might not be visible, or
I see.
And the belief is that the ancestors take care of those animals, and they choose when to reveal them to the living to kill. In that case, you have to go to your paternal clan and confess, tell them that you deprived them of their gift, and they will have to bless you some other way. Usually, you have to pass by the between the legs of your paternal aunt. Yes, that's how you get your blessing. You go from behind, forward,
crawl in between the ice.
Right, crawl between, and then they will pull you by the hand, and both of you will jump, together, and that's the blessing. Sometimes they sort of spit on you, on your face. But that is another way of blessing you, restoring your chances. Yes.
Now I understand there's in every religious tradition there's a way of pursuing reconciliation, for example, or penance, for example. In Christianity, right now we're in the Lenten season, for example, and of course the Lenten season is meant to be the penitential season in Christianity. Jewish tradition, Yom Kippur, which is the holy New Year day or day in the Jewish calendar, where you're supposed to reconcile and make right with your neighbor and so forth. At that point, so there are. You talked about reconciliation.
Yes.
Earlier, there are similar traditions in the African traditions.
Yes, reconciliation is actually encoded in the system of the Congo people's beliefs. Should you quarrel with somebody, that will trigger a gathering of all the people, of the clans, of the defendant, and let's say the person who is accusing the others, and you will have to sort out that problem, eventually somebody may be found guilty, but that doesn't mean that he's going to pay the fine alone. The fine is going to be paid by the whole clan. You will all, let's say, wash your hands and eat. Eventually, they may say you're going to bring a pig, that pig of shame that you brought to the village, the pig of reconciliation at the same time. And they will eat it together. They will share it together. And that's how peace is restored into the community.
I see. So in other words, if I offended someone and I would bring this pig of reconciliation or pig of penance in, then I would buy the pig, I would prepare it, then everybody would come and it would be a way of giving back to the community for how I offended it.
Exactly. And actually, you won't be the only one to buy it. It's your side, your family
I see.
Will contribute to bring that pig.
Mm-hmm. Now, what about ceremonies like rite of passage from youth to adult, or wedding ceremonies and so forth?
When you get married, say when you mature enough to get married, then they organize that big gathering once again, which will bring 4 families and friends. Mm-hmm. And you will eat, you will dance, but before you actually go to your husband, I'm talking about the wife here, mm-hmm. Your family, your paternal family, and your maternal family will get together to give you a set of rules and regulations and norms and sort of pieces of advice that you need to survive in your family. Mm-hmm. They do bless you. So there's a ceremony of blessing, so to speak, too. Mm-hmm. And they wish you all the best.
Can you describe that ceremony a little bit?
Well, you would be sitting in a comfortable armchair with the best of the blankets, on top of it. And when all the rites have been done, meaning the offerings of wine and the dowry has been exchanged, whether there's bit of money, some money, mm-hmm. And wine and clothing and all the kind of things that the paternal family wanted, then everything is almost over, and that's when they start talking, taking turns. The father will speak first, and then the maternal uncle will speak, telling you that if you believe in some kind of evil spirits, witchcraft and sorcery, this is not what you're going to that marriage for. So make sure none of the two initiates this kind of union. This union is a social union. It's not metaphysical, not too secretive. We all know where you're going, but we don't know what you're going to find there, so you need to watch it. Mm-hmm. The wine will be exchanged once again, and the palm wine especially, is the symbol of sharing that goes along with that blessing. I see.
Well, we want to thank you very much for being with us today. There's so much to learn about the indigenous traditions, and sometimes we forget about them, but there's much wisdom in them as well as far as bringing communities together. And so thank you very much, Dr. Matuka.
Thank you. Very welcome. It was a pleasure.
Hope to have you back sometime.
It was a pleasure to talk to you.
This is George Wolfe for Converging Streams.
Thank you for listening to Converging Streams, Interfaith Fellowship in Our Modern World. Our program is a production of the Muncie Interfaith Fellowship, with content and financial support from the Unitarian Universalist Church of Muncie and technical support from radio stations WCRD and Work FM. Most importantly, we thank you, our listeners and followers, for your support. To connect with Converging Streams, including listening to our entire catalog of past programs, getting our latest new content, and making your own contribution to this program, visit our website, convergingstreams.org. Converging Streams is produced by Tony Piazza, George Wolfe, and Thomas Perchlik. Thank you for listening and have a pleasant week.